My fellow Americans, it is time to take our freedom back.
Nelson's horse, and she had it since it was a colt, like started her rodeo career and everything.
Did we ever get that video? I know Becky had texted me asking for the footage of that horse because of that reason.
No, we I don't think she's gotten it yet.
Okay.
We do need to get that
production
to her,
guys,
sure.
if we can get that to her, that'd be great. That's kind of an important
Beautiful
deal.
horse.
Yeah.
I also want to say, like, we start off these episodes all the time with that, and we don't give enough notoriety, I guess, to our production crew. Like, those guys are awesome, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's a lot that goes on. I mean, it seems like such a simple little deal, just a few guys sitting around a table talking, you know, but there's so much that goes into this beyond every single episode, you know. So from getting the setup going to making sure that everything's working fine to getting it out there, disseminating it to
even to
people, you know,
9 p.m. last night, the text on shoring up what's really going to happen today. I mean, and they're on that thread.
When even the film part, I mean, look how good looking we all look.
I know, right? Jeez, I mean, our makeup guy, you know.
I know my buddies tell me I look like a transient, so I'm like, I feel like I look okay right there. I look good, man. I look good. I never look in the mirrors. I don't know.
Cute sons of guns.
Yeah. I think they did that out of the goodness of their heart too. They just said, "Hey, we're going to do this badass freaking intro for you guys."
I think it's awesome, you know. And there's so much that goes into this deal, you know. And I've been so grateful over the last year to really be involved with this because the production quality, the quality of everything that gets done within this group, within Red, White, and Blue Press, is just outstanding, you know.
Yeah,
and now going into Mountaintop Media, and just the level of expectation is high, you know. And I think that says a lot to say about just not just who we are as people, but of what we expect of our local government, you know. Too, is like, look, if we can put together a business like this in 1 year that's financially sound, that's making decisions, you know, based on sound, you know, financial just stuff, you know. Why can't you run our government the same way? Why can't you make sure that our government is profitable and working for the people? Because everything we're doing here is really to work for other people. I mean, none of us are actually making money at this, you know, but we're creating an environment where people are starting to understand it. Look, you know, if you can dream of something, you can do it. You know, if we can put together a team as awesome as we've put together in the last year, then you guys can certainly, you know, at least uphold that same standard here.
I think I think they can't, because it's accountability, and that's what we're moving towards. If this wasn't a good production, excellent, and our hearts weren't in it, thank you for pulling me in, by the way, it would flop.
Yeah.
Everyone would see right through it. If the sound sucked and Jeremy sucked at his job, no one would be like, that music was awesome, you know. And the film guys, all the efforts that go into it are an excellent standard, because your survival depends on it. These supervisors could sit there and say whatever they want, hide behind their masks, and the money just keeps pumping in.
Sure.
And they can just keep making their decisions until we start holding them accountable. Absolutely. And that's what Joe touched on that, but it's coming a little thicker because things are moving faster. So are your constituents.
It's the, you know, this country, it's the great American experiment. Yeah. And it's kind of the first of its kind. And one of the biggest points that the founding fathers put into place, especially, there's a quote from Thomas Jefferson. I can't remember exactly the quote, but it's basically, the people can have this type of government, this experiment.
And it was so novel. To us, like, it's for granted, right? We're like, of course people should be in charge, you know?
Yeah.
That was a novel idea back then.
But it came with a sort of not a warning, but like, they can have this if the people are aware of the government, how it works. They stay engaged, they stay in tune, because it will be the people's job to right that wrong whenever things go awry.
And nothing's for free. So this inheritance that we received, I think, has to come with a recognition that none of this is free, none of this is long lasting if we don't fight for it every single day.
You know, it's interesting. I'm reading a book right now called Heirs of the Founders, and not errors like mistakes, but like they're errors.
They're an outside caution.
Yeah, and it's covering the generation that came right after the founders, Daniel Webster, John Calhoun, those guys. And they're having these debates, you know, over the direction of the country. And it's funny because it's a lot of the same stuff we're talking about now. Some of them were big government guys, federalists.
Sure.
You know, the other guys were like small government, you know, leave the power in the people. And but I'm sitting here reading this and I'm like, man, I could see Ted Cruz or one of those guys reading this very speech even right now. So that's been the battle all along, has been, you know, do we want a big overarching, all-powerful central government? That wasn't the intent. You know, the intent was the states held the power, and that's
and
what
almost 100 years later is we fought a civil war, right? And we were engaged in this really, really sad, bloody civil war for that reason. And you can get into slavery and all those issues that were attached to that, but really it came down to states' rights. It came down to that, you know.
It was the big part of it. There were guys that were arguing from the South that were anti-slavery, but they still didn't want the federal government telling them what to do, you know. So it's just interesting. But today we're going to go even beyond national politics, it sounds like, and see how some of these world issues are affecting our country. John's been doing some good research.
So, we're going to talk a little bit about China, Taiwan, U.S. tensions. We're going to talk a little bit about, Ukraine and the pipeline they're building around Ukraine to Europe, you know, to bypass the leverage by having the pipeline go through Ukraine. Basically, Russia can invade the Ukraine when with the pipeline going through there, because if that pipeline got halted or blown up or something like that, that Russia would be screwed. But if they are actually able to build this pipeline around the Ukraine, then they've already got a lot of military buildup. But right before we get into that, I just wanted to talk about, one way you could support us is by going to theredwhiteandblueprint.com, theredwhiteandblueprint.com, and support us. None of us take a paycheck. Every dollar that you use to support us, goes towards expanding our operation and trying to wake people up and get the information out there. But you can go to
it's working.
Yeah, and it's working. How it can measure your success is how much you get attacked by the leftists, and it's a badge of honor. But so they're ramping up their character assassinations of us, but whatever. It's like water off a duck feathers, no big deal. But the main thing is to keep this thing going and expanding. We do need support. Go to theredwhiteandblueprint.com, buy some merchandise, become a VIP. A lot of stuff we say is controversial, so a lot of our our episodes and our podcasts get censored off of some of the main platforms. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. We might get censored off of YouTube or Facebook.
I like Rumble a lot.
Yeah, Rumble is really good. And you can always go to mountaintopmedia.com. All of our podcasts, all of our docuseries episodes are on mountaintopmedia.com. Anyways, I just want to throw that out there. Maybe you could pull that first article up now, Eli, and we'll start getting into it. So China vows to open fire on U.S. troops that come to Taiwan's aid. China's military will heavily attack U.S. troops who come to Taiwan's rescue. If a war between China and Taiwan breaks out, a possibility that is increasingly likely as the communist regime readies its war machine on Taiwan's borders. Scroll down a little. China's latest threat to escalate tensions with Taiwan comes on the heels of remarks by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who said the United States is prepared to counter an attempt by China to forcefully seize Taiwan and bring it back into the communist country's orbit. I'm just going over a couple of the highlights here. I have China has been threatening to take Taiwan since the Biden administration took office. That's kind of funny.
I think that's the key right there, right? Is what's happened, the unraveling of the globe since Biden took office, and the fact that people can feel however they feel about Trump, and their minds are already made up about him regardless, but we can see the effects and what we said would happen, that if Biden takes office, the rest of the world is going to basically say, hey, man, this is a free-for-all again, they're going to vie for power.
They can sense the weakness, and I mean, do you think Biden would really go to the aid of Taiwan? I think he's bought and paid for. by China
100%
myself.
he is, and I love watching Jen Psaki try to defend Hunter Biden every time, when they ask a question. And these reporters are on it now. Reporters from all sides, reporters who were very, very even critical of Trump, are now starting to criticize this administration, saying, hey, give us the information on Hunter Biden. And she says, well, he's not a member of the federal government, so you're going to have to ask his people, about that. I'm like, well, he's the son of the president who has deep ties into a country that we have issues with now.
If it was Donald Jr.,
Oh, you imagine? So to say that Trump can totally be absolved, or I'm sorry, that Biden can be totally absolved from that because of his son's, involvement in that is absurd. We would never ask that. I mean, family's family, and if that family is involved heavily into Chinese politics or Chinese business, we need to know about that.
Well, and a lot of his connections were made while Biden was the vice president during Obama's presidency, and not only they were made during that time, but he would go on trips with his dad. So, as I understand it, Hunter went with Biden in 2012, 13, 14 to China and made a lot of his big connections during that trip.
If that crackhead's name wasn't Biden, we wouldn't be talking about it. You'd be a nobody, So it's a fact that this meth head's name is Hunter Biden is the fact that we're talking about this. It's the fact that he's involved.
He's an artist, Carlos.
Are you just jealous that he's a very successful
Crackhead
artist?
Did he get, was it $500,000 he got for his latest painting?
Five times more than a Picasso sold for the
From
same
what I
reason.
understand,
I just
that
want to see his
it's all he can sell these things in secret to whoever, and the money's not disclosed.
Yeah.
So obviously there's more behind. His artwork sucks, and what's going on is that people are paying indirectly for information through
Access.
Access
the big guy.
and for policy making and all kinds of
It's so overt too. It's not like people are like,
No, and to
I
Woody's
want a
point,
Hunter
if
Biden
his
piece
name
in my
was
living
Donald
room.
Trump Jr. or Eric Trump,
Yeah.
I mean, what would that story be like?
Isn't that double
whole story.
standard? It's just
Oh,
infuriating.
and they don't even hide it. They know it's
Yeah,
double
oh,
standard,
yeah.
Hey, the media is coming apart, though.
Did you guys see Brian Wilson's?
You look at Cuomo going down.
Oh
you
yeah,
look
they
at
are.
Don
CNN
Lemon
is
now.
like
Or is
Don
it Brian
Lemon's under
Matthews?
attack.
Who's the reporter that just signed off of NBC?
Chris Wallace off of.
Yeah, that's Chris Wallace, but the God, this is escaping me right now.
talking about Don Lemon or Chris?
No.
Cuomo?
Anyways, doesn't matter. The reporter, he'd been an anchor for NBC for
Brian Williams.
Brian Williams, yeah.
Fox News.
Yeah.
Brian Williams.
Brian Williams. You're talking not Chris
MSNBC.
Wallace. Sorry,
Yeah,
Brian Williams.
Chris Wallace did sign off of Fox
I
News.
got shot down. I was in
Williams.
a helicopter and I got shot down. Live fire. I mean, it was a crazy ass war zone.
No, that was
Brian
Williams said that too.
Brian
It was Brian
Williams.
Williams.
Yeah.
You're right. It was Brian Williams.
There was more than one reporter that said. I mean, Hillary
Yeah.
Clinton said she got
So
shot
he just
down
signed
or
off
something,
NBC, and he gave a really good speech. Actually, he says, "Like, I don't even recognize this world anymore." And I thought that was pretty strong.
Well, yeah. Well,
So he just
Oh,
stepped
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
Or I don't follow any of
He
that.
did. He
so
stepped down,
I'm
but it's
out of
guys like him that helped get us where we're at, though. So
Yeah.
I'm not buying his little speech there at the end.
Yeah.
It's
Do
their
you
fault.
remember that though? When
Oh,
he
yeah.
said he got shot down and all that stuff, and it was
Yeah.
all fake. I mean,
Yeah. Joe Biden's had a similar story that he went into
Same
the
with
country
Hillary.
under fire. Yeah.
these guys all got stories, and they just realized we're too dumb.
I got
to
shot
remember
down
2
on my
months
way here
ago.
today. I was driving up
Flying on your drone?
I was.
Your one person drone?
Go, John. Let's get some.
Well, okay. So, Sullivan said on Tuesday in a response to questions from reporters that the United States is out to ensure a forceful Chinese takeover of Taiwan never happens. The Global Times in its editorial responded directly saying China will not back down from its reunification effort. Mr. Sullivan, please be advised to sort out your mind carefully and think about the bargaining chips that you do have in your hands to intimidate the Chinese mainland, which is determined to achieve national reunification and has various strategic tools to resist blackmail. The paper wrote, "You will find your hand is empty. Therefore, don't have a big mouth, Mr. Sullivan. Otherwise, you will only create more embarrassment for your country." I mean, they just bitch slap these guys around. I mean, like,
Your hand is empty.
the way they talk to these, I mean, seriously,
why
what
does China want Taiwan? Let's start there. I mean, what is their reason? I know China's been pretty delinquent over the last 10 years. They're setting up Navy bases, and in the South China Sea, and they're doing things that are completely out of balance. Basically,
He's telling you to get better.
so on the mic. So basically, they're thumbing their nose at anything that anybody in the world has to say, and the U.S. certainly isn't doing anything about it, but why Taiwan? I mean,
why did Napoleon want to take over the world, and they're trying to expand their borders. China's trying to expand. They want to take control of the world. So, I mean,
they already own the U.S.
I think there's also strategic positioning with the war over the South China Sea. To take over Taiwan strengthens their position there. So and it's also about expansion. That's kind of the communist thing to do, is to keep pushing your borders out. Look at Russia with Ukraine. I mean, but yeah, at the end of the day, the love Trump or hate him, like nobody was talking like that during Trump's presidency, because you say something like that to one of Trump's spokespeople or somebody in his cabinet, and there's going to be a really swift and harsh response to it. For whatever reason, they can say things like that, and then when asked in an interview, Biden or Psaki will respond and say our relationship is really great with China, and they'll just brush it off and pretend like it didn't happen. And I think China knows that. I think a lot of countries know right now. We can say anything we want. We can totally totally mock the United States up and down, and Biden's not going to do anything.
Well, I'm about a decade older than any of you guys, and I remember when Jimmy Carter was the president when I was like in junior high. 8th grade, he lost to Reagan, but the world treated him the same way as they're treating Biden. Just like, they had Iran had our hostages
and
for that whole time.
19%.
Oh yeah, and they wouldn't give us our hostages back. Well, Reagan, while he was running, said, "The day that I take over, I'm going to flatten Iran if you haven't given us our hostages back."
That's right.
And man, they were on a plane the day he was getting inaugurated. They were getting flown home. And so,
it's strength.
I mean, it's strength, and people can sense it. I mean, dogs can sense it. You see a couple dogs go up sniffing each other's balls, and one of them figures out real quick who the boss is.
That's right.
That's the way it is.
If they're not sure, they're going to fight a little bit.
They're going to fight, yeah.
Yeah, right. I know. I've got 2 dogs that, man, I wish one of them was weaker than the other, because they're both pretty freaking tough, and they just keep scrapping it up, and I don't know what to do, but anyways.
Well, and with Biden, like, he can't even. What was the latest at that service? He gives a speech and he says, "And that is the end of message."
Yeah, he just
reads the
teleprompter.
The teleprompter,
it's like
an
Anchorman
word
moment.
for word. It totally.
Don't you know the president always reads everything on the teleprompter? Don't put anything up there except for what he's going to read.
Yeah, quote, end quote.
Yeah, he does. He says that kind of stuff. I mean, so what are other countries are looking like? Oh my gosh, we can get away with anything we want right now.
Well, you know what?
It does matter.
From day one, I mean, he started signing these executive orders, and he's sitting there signing executive orders, and he's Kamala standing there, his handler, and his babysitter, handler, baby diaper changer. Anyways, and she's standing there, and he's going, "What am I signing?"
Yeah,
and she's like, "Don't worry about it, just sign it." And he goes, "Okay."
Hey, but where's Kamala been?
I mean,
lately
oh man,
boy, they're keeping
what did she do?
Under wraps.
Jumping ship out of her.
What happened?
Seems like her and Biden are at odds right now.
No,
too.
I can tell you what's happening. Kamala Harris is so wildly unpopular. Biden's poll numbers are so freaking bad that
hers are worse.
Hers are the worst. That anybody who's ever been in office ever. She's had the worst approval rating. She's the most unpopular person probably to ever be in any position of power as far as an elected official. I mean, I'm just being real. Her numbers are horrible. I don't know why they chose her as a running mate.
20s or something.
But it's my opinion that they're trying to keep her. They were at something, I don't even remember what it was, but they were somewhere in public, and Biden and Jill, all of a sudden, they got up and they moved seats to
get shunned.
Yes, Bob Dole's
That's
funeral.
The same place he read end of message.
Yes, and so I'm thinking, like, why would... She's toxic, and they're trying to get away from her, and that's just my opinion.
I heard they're trying to find a way to get rid of her. That's what I'm hearing. The Democrats know they're in big trouble because Joe can't run again in 2024. And Kamala is the least popular, and I've heard she has a really bad substance abuse problem too, as part of her issue with losing so many of her staff and everything. I don't know if she's an alcoholic or if she's still
Well, and somebody's
getting
trying to
coke
tell
from
me-
Willie Brown. I'm not sure. But
Maybe you guys heard this, but somebody's trying to say that that's pull Kamala, have her go away and slide Hillary in, drop Biden out, and then Hillary
No, I think
goes
they
to the
want
top.
Pete.
I don't know, but
they want Pete Buttigieg.
Oh yeah, but
He's done a real knock-up job. Transportation secretary, and he takes 2 months off during the biggest crisis when all those shipping containers are all on the. He took 2 months off because
Maternity leave.
him and his husband were having a baby, and I'm like thinking,
How the fuck are two men having a baby?
they adopted a child, obviously, because
But
the-
having a baby.
follow
somebody
the
else had a
science.
Goddamn baby. And now they're gonna fucking adopt it.
yeah. So they took. I think it was 2 months off during this
Oh,
big
man.
crisis, and I'm thinking, when my wife and I had a baby,
where are
like yeah, I took off, maybe a week or two, and I'm always there to race home when my wife needs me, and we had some support, but like even my little business is nothing, I couldn't take 2 months off. We'd have to sell our house, but he's like, I'm the Secretary of Transportation for the United States of America. Peace. I'm out for 2 months during one of the
Well, it
biggest crises.
It just proves his staffers are doing everything.
Well, the worst part
Well,
was
he's
is
not-
him and his husband wearing like hospital gowns at the hospital.
Like they actually
Holding
birthed the baby. You know what? They are so.
That's mental
They
illness,
are so
dude.
fake.
It's mental fucking illness. I'm sorry.
Hey, I
Let's
don't-
get banned right
I'll
now.
be honest. I
Let's
don't
talk.
think they actually are raising these kids, man. I'm just being real.
Do you remember when Pete Buttigieg wanted to film himself riding his bike?
I
to
was
this
gonna-
deal. Remember that?
What? He drove
Remember that?
in an
He drove,
SUV.
and then they dropped him off. There, here's your bike.
Somebody
he
was
rode like the
filming.
last quarter mile or whatever. You just see that? Anyways, yeah, you can.
No, it's all both. This is such a. It's like
Yeah.
It's so fake, man. You're right.
I don't care that you're gay. I don't care what the fuck you do. But dude, don't tell me you're having a baby and you're taking 2 months off for what? For maternity leave?
Don't expect us to take you serious. Just like the admiral of healthcare, they show this picture of that guy, with his woman's military uniform on, and we're supposed to be all,
Yeah.
Dude, don't expect us to take that.
So my sister
seriously.
sent some. We have a family thread that we all talk on every day. And my sister sends me this deal because she was looking for a dress for her daughter for Christmas. My sister's like, dude, and she's like, if I think I'm a conservative guy, she's like to the right of me, and only recently because of what she's seeing, and she sends me these pictures of this online catalog she's looking at, where these little boys in dresses. The models for these dresses are boys that they're using now. And I have it on this thread. I wish we could put it up there, and it's sickening because that's what it's complete subversion. This is what we're coming to now, let's turn this world upside down. It's the kind of thing that opens the door for people like China to come in and the Russians are laughing at us right now. Like, how you have little boys in dresses, like take you over and breed your women,
I remember when
And they're calling it science.
when we played
at the same time.
the recruitment stuff. We played it on here. It was a while ago, a couple
Exactly.
months, but it's like they showed like the United States recruitment stuff about just all social justice warrior.
I had two
this and that,
moms,
and then it
and
showed the
I-
Russian freaking
I know.
badass,
Yeah,
freaking just
exactly.
doing push-ups.
I'll slit your fucking
it's just-
throat.
You're just
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to be American right now. Almost. I mean, not
It is.
really,
I never
but
want to say that, but it's almost embarrassing. We are the laughing stock of the world right now because of Joe Biden.
They're laughing.
It's not because of Joe Biden. It's because of people like Joe Biden. It's because of this movement, right, that we've allowed to take so much footing into our society now.
That reminds me of the fake cake crime.
Yeah,
right?
and
And
that's
that guy,
in news.
he get what,
Jussie
5
Smollett.
felony charges, and you can see all the tweets, or 5 out of 6
And Biden and
from
everybody else
Biden and
was
Kamala and everybody
on
all
him.
jumping on like, oh, that poor guy. We can't stand for racism in this country when the whole reason that
He was the
pushed
only
Kamala
racist.
to her seat is for race.
Yeah.
and I'm like, who's the racist? And that was just
It's a really bad move. I mean, awful, really awful, and it's sad too because I think everybody could agree. Like, if that actually happened, that's freaking awful.
Oh,
like
yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
wants like racism in this country. It's a dying breed. It's freaking horrible. And then you have a guy like that who I actually watched his show. Empire.
I don't think it's a dying breed. I think racism is going to grow because of what they're allowing. I think
is
it's gonna-
growing.
I think it's going to make people more racist. I don't think it's a dying breed at all. I think more people are going to become more racist because of the bullshit that they're trying to pull. People are having
Well, and
enough
that's
of it.
sad too.
It's
I mean,
sick.
you look back to like the 1960s and talking to like my, like like relatives that lived in that, and they talk about how it was, and I'm just like, that's awful.
Yeah.
But you are starting to see a swing back to where, because of all these things that are happening, people are getting racist, and where maybe they weren't before. But anyway, with Jesse doing that, it was like, I was a fan of his. I watched the show, and then all of a sudden I see this and I'm like, that's freaking awful. And then you hear he faked this whole thing for what end? Like to
Attention.
Tension, yeah.
but
to further the schism, right? That's what they
to
want.
fabricate
Yes.
a racist hate crime in order to then have more racism or something, like, and more divide in our country.
Remember the
like,
NASCAR, the black race car driver?
right. The noose, right,
There
the
was
noose.
there was a handle, a rope handle to pull down the garage door, and he took a picture of it and said it was a noose. And
had like
then all
15 FBI agents come out.
Oh yeah, see, all that is just for pure attention and politics, and it is causing division.
Oh yeah.
country.
Well,
They're
TikTok's
Anything to take down the white man, and if we don't think that the white man is under attack, we need to watch the news. We need to pay attention, because they are.
Well, I mean, this ad that popped up on Karina's she always looks at Pinterest, and then I have new construction projects, but I don't know if you guys experienced that. But anyway, point is, an ad popped up that was buy my stuff because I'm a black business owner with this gal.
Yep.
And she was
I've seen this.
pissed. She's like, what does that have to do?
Yeah.
Do you offer a good service? Do you have a good price?
No.
What are you actually, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
What are you even selling?
Yeah.
And it's like, just blindly click it. And that is perpetuating racism, 100%.
Yeah.
You can't have that. Because if you're depending
Anytime
on your
you
color,
get
that's
away
not
from
acceptable.
earning things on merit, you're creating racism to me. It's on merit. I
Yeah.
don't care if you're black, yellow, green. I don't care what the hell your color is. If you have a good product, I'm going to buy it.
Yep.
But don't tell me. Now that you told me that you're a black-owned business, I don't want to buy it from you just because you said that,
Yeah.
If you just be like, hey, I have this product that's really good and it'll benefit you, I'll buy it all day.
You've never introduced yourself as Carlos the Peruvian.
Carlos
business
Peruvian,
owner?
yeah, the white supremacist. And apparently I don't have to be white to be a white supremacist is what, what A News Cafe says
Peruvian
now,
owned
right?
business, or I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine if somebody actually like advertises like white owned business? It'd be like,
I
Oh
gotta
my
do it.
gosh, can you
gonna do
imagine?
I don't think anyone does that, but I think if they did, they
imagine,
would be
it'd be-
freaking
and there'd be
like
an
they'd
uproar.
maybe go to jail or something. I don't know.
We have 3
It'd be a
minutes.
hate crime.
Let's talk about the Russians real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, we can go. Why don't
I
you
got off
pull
on a
up?
tangent there. Thanks, Mayor Pete.
Let's see here. Number 5, number 4. Let's see where we're
Scrubs
gonna
at the
go
hospital.
Well, I think a good tie-in for the pipeline is in the same way that China said, now that Trump's out, we can start making threats about Taiwan. Let the U.S. know we will go to war over this country. Russia did the same thing.
So on January 20th, Joe Biden took office, and on January 24th, which the same day I believe that they put a stop to the second pipeline that was going around Germany. They stopped construction on it, and then 4 days after Biden was elected, or 4 days after he was inaugurated, they started building on the pipeline again. And now we have more troops on the Ukrainian border than we've had since 2014. And
Our troops are Ukrainian troops.
I'm sorry, Russian troops.
Russian
There's more Russian troops on
100,000.
Ukraine's eastern border than any time since 2014.
So, and it just goes to show, like, because Trump signed this. It was a bill that Ted Cruz and one other senator, is a bipartisan bill, overwhelmingly supported in both houses, the House and the Senate. And then they sent it to Trump's office. He signed it. The day he signed it, Russia stopped building the Nord Stream pipeline. And this pipeline, like John was saying, it goes around Ukraine and into Germany. The reason they've wanted to invade Ukraine, Russia has wanted to invade Ukraine for a long time. They actually invaded them in 2014, but they didn't do a full-on invasion because they needed their energy infrastructure in order to be able to transport this natural gas from Russia to Germany.
That was Ukraine's one ace in the hole, because
Yeah.
they came into Crimea, and I think Ukraine told them, "Hey, we'll blow the hell out of these pipelines if you keep coming."
And so they're like, okay, so that that was their leverage on Russia. If you come into this country, we're going to blow up our own pipelines and you won't have anything. Yeah. So then Putin's like, well, I really want to invade your country, so we'll just build a pipeline around. And as soon as we get that done, we'll invade your country. Well, Trump signed it. They halted it. That halt wasn't lifted when Biden was inaugurated. That halt that was still a don't build that pipeline. 4 days after he's inaugurated, Putin's like, it's Biden. Yeah. Let's build. Yeah. So literally, like on the 20th, he's inaugurated. On the 24th, they start building again, and they haven't stopped building. And the reality is at this point, they've got 100,000 Russian troops on the border of Ukraine. They're going in, and they're telling Biden, what are you going to do? Yeah.
Once the Nord Stream 2 pipeline is completed, I mean, they're going to invade Ukraine. Yeah. The only reason they're not is because of the pipeline, the leverage they have of the pipeline going through Ukraine. If they stop the pipeline of natural gas going to Europe, I mean, that would really screw up Russia's funding. They make a lot of money off of that natural resource that they have. So,
and we will send troops at that point. I think Joe won't do anything about Taiwan because he's beholden to China, but the military-industrial complex is chomping at the bit now that we withdrew from Afghanistan, and they're like,
and think about it. They need major distractions to distract us from all the things that are coming to light, from the debt to the economic breakdown, the supply chain breakdown, the vaccine adverse effects. I mean, you name it. Their whole system, their whole house of cards is falling right now, and we need distraction after distraction after distraction. And I mean, I
think the dog over and over again.
Yep, over and over again. Okay, well,
and the last thing we need to do right now is get into a war with Russia or China. Oh yeah. I mean, the fact that this is actually like a big potential and it's happening under Biden's watch is really unfortunate for our country, because we don't need to be at war with China or Russia. I mean, that's going to be. It's not going to be a war in the desert in Afghanistan, or I mean, it's going to be. That's potentially a world war.
But who was the last Democratic president that we didn't go to war with? Somebody, you know what I mean? They always talk about Republicans being
violent, and,
the warmongers, but it's usually always the Democrats that get us into a war.
More debt, more war.
Yeah,
I mean, more of the same.
Have we ever been to war with a country that has nuclear weapons?
Well. I mean, we back in World War II. I mean,
we were the ones with the nukes.
Yeah, we dropped them.
Were you saying, have we ever been to war with someone else that didn't have nuclear weapons, or
somebody that
like I'm saying,
somebody else?
Look,
that has
if you
them.
look over the history of our country, to your point, a lot of Democrat leadership, they've gone in, they've invaded different countries, and you could speculate. Well, they were being the world warriors for countries that were being oppressed, or they were in there to try to get control of the oil fields or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, have we ever gone into a modern war with a country that has nuclear weapons? Like, I feel like getting in a war with Russia or China looks a lot different than going into war with
people like Roger
Iraq
Wicker out of Mississippi, Senator Roger Wicker saying, hey, we should go to nuclear war with Russia. And then you have a voice of reason. Like, I love Tulsi Gabbard. She's a Democrat, but I think she's outstanding, And she's like, are you crazy? She goes, do you know what that would mean? Like we'd be done.
Well, and talk about like the Green New Deal and like all this. Yeah. They talk about global warming, and then at the other side of their mouth, it's like, let's go to a nuclear war with. I mean, that would destroy the planet.
Yeah.
So China now has hypersonic missiles that even our own administration has said basically can get past all the missile defense type systems and everything. I guess they have the most highest tech hypersonic nuclear capable.
Chinese or Russians?
Chinese. The Chinese now have hypersonic missiles, nuclear capable, that are the most advanced out there, period. China's also weaponizing space right now. They're massively expanding their space weapons, and they're more than doubling their nuclear arsenal right now. They're massively expanding their military.
Plus, they're turning a lot of their shipping containers. They have missile launchers that look like shipping containers that the roof just tilts. They were showing those on the news the other day.
You'd be sitting right at Walmart and all of a sudden just be like, ba-blam. I mean, who freaking knows?
They could dang sure be right out there
It just looked
Sitting
like a
outside of
regular
Long
old
Beach.
container.
You know,
They own a bunch of the interests in the ports and everything, and that's a whole,
imagine how many ships they could get near our coast if Buttigieg has another kid.
Oh, I know.
Oh my God, we've already got a couple hundred right off of Long Beach right
Adopts.
there. We got probably 100 off of Portland. They got freaking. Okay, so I know we're out of time. Can you bring up article number 6? I always love to celebrate when pedophiles are going down. They're going to burn in hell, and we've got a major CNN producer, John Griffin. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit there. This guy right here. I mean, do you want to let this guy babysit your kid?
No.
I'm just throwing it out there. John Griffin, he's a major.
He was
Chris Cuomo's producer.
Cuomo's producer.
I was a CNN guy.
So Chris Cuomo just all of a sudden got fired for reasons that stupid reasons that aren't the real truth. I mean, I'm going to say he's a pedophile too. I can't prove that. I'll probably get us kicked off, but whatever. This guy is definitely a pedophile. Okay, this guy was luring and people in as young as 9 years old, paying and getting the parents involved in it. Okay, and the parents are freaking sick, man. You're going to bring your 13-year-old daughter and your 9-year-old daughter to get groomed and sexually trained by these freaking perverts. So anyways, he's looking at 10 years for multiple count for each case that's being brought forward. And they're going to have, these pedophiles are going to have a hard time sweeping this stuff under the rug. And I had to bring it up. I know it's a little bit off topic, but I mean, I just love it when
Should
these
be more
freaking
than 10.
sickos.
Death penalty offense.
Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah, it'd be a lot less taxpayer funded money if it was just a bullet or a noose or a guillotine.
Well, a lot's going to be coming down the pipe here with the Maxwell trial going on. They can't keep that under wraps forever. And
Well, they're trying whistle blowing a lot of
There's
people.
gonna be a
will
lot of
sit
stuff
around,
happening.
for sure.
Yeah.
Right on, guys. Well,
We're out of time.
We're out of time.
Hey, thanks
Just like
everybody.
that.
all right,
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you
Appreciate
all. Thanks production team for
Great
all your
info.
hard work and
Appreciate
kicking
you guys.
ass. Really appreciate you. Go to the Red, White, and Blueprint. Buy some merchandise. Go to mountaintopmedia.com if you want to go and see everything we got going on and some of
And
our
share
stuff.
with your
that's-
friends. I mean, we all have friends that live out of the area, out of state, maybe, send it to them. They might not have access to this or not even know about it. So send it to your friends.
Share it. Like
Absolutely.
it.
Yep.
Hit that like button.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.